Is Daniel Levy killing the club? Is Daniel Levy the biggest problem at Tottenham? These are the type of questions I'm going to be addressing, giving my opinion, and very interesting to get your thoughts, kind of be reviewing, and whether Daniel Levy's changed or not. As Thomas Frank is appointed, we go into a new season. We're going to be reviewing the role of Daniel Levy as chairman and the job that he's done. So stay tuned because I know opinions are strong on this one. But as always, I'll try and be as balanced as possible while also giving my opinion. Welcome back to the channel. I do hope you're keeping well. It is Harry Scarfe here. Thank you very much. If you are new, please do like and subscribe. So Daniel Levy is a topic of discussion, and I'll try and keep this as kind of short as possible and not bore you to death. Daniel Levy, right? What are my current thoughts on him? I think I've realised over the last kind of few weeks and few months that for me, that Daniel Levy is a bigger problem than Enoch. And I've always been like one of those Spurs fans. I've never really had a big problem with, the way we run, etc., etc. But as times go on, the more frustrated that I've become, because I think you've got Enoch, right, which is, a business. It's always going to be business before football club. It's always going to be profit before glory. It's always going to be profit before fans, themselves before fans. Treat fans as customers. To the product rather than fans, if you like. So that's Enoch. You're always going to have that problem, and I think under Enoch, for me anyway, you can't close the gap to the best teams in Europe. You can't compete consistently for honours and success with the big six and the top teams as well in Europe. Not sustained success and sustained pressure anyway, because of the way that Enoch's kind of model of recruitment, which is you only where it's all about selling players. It's the wage structure. That's all to do with Enoch. But where is to do with Daniel Levy for me is when it comes to managers, appointments and sackings. And I've just realised with the decision for me anyway, with Ange Postecoglou, where we win a trophy, but Levy sacks him, even though the majority of the fan base were behind him. And if you're not sure about that, for me, I would say the evidence of that was at the trophy parade, with his season 3 is always better than season 2. The reaction to that, and his name was sung constantly throughout the game, even despite the defeat on the final day to Brighton, which is a heavy defeat in the end, but still singing his name all the way through. I think the fans proved that they were behind him. We wanted a season 3. I just think that Levy says in his statement that he sacked Ange because we couldn't compete on all four fronts, but the reason we can't is because of the backing. So Levy, for me, has got time and time again the managerial decisions wrong. From before, I really followed football, to sacking Martin Jol at half time, to some would say Redknapp. Again, this is too early for me, but based on what I've kind of seen in my lifetime watching football, which hasn't been long, so I totally do respect and understand that. But Pochettino, for me, that sacking is terrible. Not giving him the rebuild he deserves. I know there would have been a barrier there with him for Enoch to get that investment that was really needed in the team, but he shouldn't be sacked for me. Or was it less than 5 months after reaching the Champions League final, which is a historic night for the club, even despite the defeat. There was real progress there to appoint serial winners in Mourinho and Conte, which go against the way the club believes in playing, and then sack him, Mourinho. Appointing him, why? But don't sack him, less than a week. Was it 4 or 5 days before a cup final? Okay, the dressing room's probably gone, but Mourinho wins trophies. He's a proven winner. And Mourinho and Conte won everywhere else but Tottenham. Luckily, Ange broke that trend. But even Ange winning a trophy, that European trophy, was enough. But I'm just sitting here thinking, whatever you think about Ange, right, just hear me out for a second. Under Ange Postecoglou, in that second season, we got to a Carabao Cup semi-final. I often forget that myself. We won the Europa League and we qualified for the Champions League. Wasn't pretty, 17th in the league. On another season, teams below us, we could have got relegated if they were, better. I acknowledge that. You should always get to 40 points to survive. We didn't do that, 38 points. It's embarrassing. I totally understand that. But Levy and ENIC and the board haven't given him the squad to be able to compete. So for me, at the moment, the biggest problem, I think there's problems from Tottenham top to bottom. And I'm very happy that Thomas Frank's here. I think it's a very sensible appointment. If you're going to remove Ange, I wouldn't have done that. If you do, Frank makes sense in an appointment. Attacking football, he's got more tactical in-game flexibility than Ange Postecoglou in terms of formation, tactics. And it just is the right guy to build on the foundations that Ange created. It must still be a good choice. We don't know. But for me, I see Levy as the biggest barrier. I think a large part of removing Ange Postecoglou was the fact that he found out from being booed at the stadium that he's still, even despite winning a trophy, he's disliked. I just feel like he loves to destroy the party because we were jubilant, and we still are, don't get me wrong, but after winning the Europa League, it's crushed a little bit by Levy sacking Ange. And I hate the whole way he went about it, waiting for him to come back on holiday, making him worry about it when he's away with his family, not giving him a definite yes or no, which I think would have been better before, just not providing that security to Ange. I don't like the way he's gone about it at all. I think managerial decisions he's got wrong. And for me, he's the biggest barrier because, even you still have the problems of ENIC, but you bring another chairman in, we might get the managerial decisions right. His appointments have been better than his sackings, but I get it. If you're sacking managers as quickly as he does, if you're spending the money that Manchester City do or Chelsea do, I don't agree with Chelsea sacking managers as often as they do, but it's a little bit more justified when they spend the money they do and expect success. But why does Daniel Levy expect success when he's not? Well, we do spend. Take that back. We do spend. We've spent anyway since the new stadium, but the recruitment's been atrocious. The recruitment's been really bad, and that Levy has to be involved in that because he's part of the process with the board, with the recruitment team. Even that, what's the point? Johan Langer and Scott Mann. Langer wasn't wanted by Aston Villa. Their recruitment's been so much better since he's gone. Scott Mann wasted space. He's gone already. So Levy's got to ask about that. And I thought he's stepping away from the football sides, hence the appointment of Johan Langer from Villa and Scott Mann from the US. But once again, we saw the Ange Postecoglou decision, several deals that Levy does step in. To be clear, I think Levy's a good businessman. I love knowing that the club's safe, and I appreciate that about ENIC and about Levy. But in ENIC's eyes, Levy's probably doing a fantastic job. That's the problem we've got here in terms of profit, turnover, et cetera, et cetera. He's achieving, ticking every box. But for me, even under these owners, a different chairman, the manager hopefully will be backed more because you've got to back them is one thing and giving them the time is a second. And Levy doesn't give them either. That's the wrong thing. The way I look at it, and I know that Amorim's new to Manchester United, but they didn't win the Europa League. They stuck with him. They believe in a project. Levy talks about these projects, this, that, the other, but he doesn't back a manager to get there. Wages is a big problem. That goes back to ENIC. So I think ENIC, big problem at Tottenham for the football side, not for the business side. Same with Levy. But I do believe that Levy is the biggest barrier. But I will acknowledge Daniel Levy's achievements because, as I said, I will try and be balanced. New stadium, fantastic. New training facilities, all these different things. F1, concerts such as Beyonce. I've been to a load of different things like this because I believe that hopefully it will be reinvested back into the first team. I think these are fantastic ideas. But what I would say to Levy, if I could have one question to him, would be, when are we going to start seeing this success on the pitch? When are we going to my one question, take that back, would be, when are we going to compete with the top 6 clubs for signings? I'd say to him, look at the, not be funny, the type of player we're signing, the club we're signing for. When will we compete for the top players? Liverpool, for Wurtzer, for Kirkes, for all these players, Haaland, whoever it may be. When are we going to compete for these top players? When will we pay the wages that allows us to attract the big players? These would be just some of the questions I say to him. If you promised, just be like, Daniel, you promised this new stadium would allow Spurs to compete on the forefront with the top teams in the country and around Europe. You've clearly spent more money since the new stadium. Why won't you pay the wages? That'd be my question. I'd want to know to him. So that's what I'd say. I don't think it's, oh my God, we need to get Daniel Levy and ENIC out the club. We're never going to do well, because I think a lot of, the manager does a good job. But at the same time, it's only so far that they can go without the backing, without the support. This is a special football club. Levy's done a lot for it on the business side, so have ENIC. But I do think it would be in the fans, in the club's best interest to have what I call a deep overhaul. We needed it this summer, and we've seen it with several changes to the board, change of manager. We need it. We need a complete change of players, and everything's a project we're leaving. there's a high possibility that Thomas Frank's been appointed because at Brentford it was a negative net spend. He worked for, sold his best assets, and still coped incredibly well on a tight budget. And as I said there, negative net spend, that's unheard of. So that's probably why he's appointed rather than a fantastic job in the 7 years he's done at Brentford, and that's the problem. This is Daniel Levy's Tottenham, though. Vange Postecoglou's, got us Spurs last season, the 23, 20, 24, 25, season. If he got us in the European places, but not, didn't win a trophy, he'd still be in the job. Whereas, okay, we didn't finish in the top 6, but we won a trophy and we still secured the same thing that finishing in the European places does, which is get you European football. We've done that with Champions League. But Ange's been sacked. That is Daniel Levy's Tottenham, and it's toxic. He has to go. We need a deep overhaul, change from top to bottom. Lots of changes to occur. I'd expect lots in the next few days, but I do think for the interest of the club, ideally, the chairman resigns in Daniel Levy and ENIC sell up. The most realistic thing, I think, is for Daniel Levy to leave. But having said that, he always buys more of the club each year. It's not going to happen. But I do believe that Levy and ENIC together, especially Levy, is the barrier to success for Tottenham. But I'm always up for debate, always up to hear your opinions, and I don't feel that strongly either way, but that is where I do stand at this moment in time. But thank you very much for watching the channel. Please do like and subscribe. Thank you for the continued support. But now, come on, Spurs. Hope you enjoyed the video, my debrief on Daniel Levy.